So today I'm going to take you to a Toyota dealership, a Ford dealership, a Jeep dealership, a Kia dealership, and a Nissan dealership to show you what's happening here on the ground level and show you that the car market is hurting right now, and I'm going to show you evidence of that today. And we're going to start right here at this Toyota dealership. You see two vehicles that you could not find in the market. We have a Prius XLE, and this is a 2024, and it's $34,000. And I'll show you this other one is a Prius Prime XSE, and this thing is $38,000. And what I want you to notice about these two vehicles, it's been very, very, very hard to find them across the car market. And when you would find them, you would have add-ons on top of these Prius when I would come to Toyota dealerships. Haven't seen a lot of them. And what's happened over the market now is you can actually find them, and you can find them at MSRP. And as I go through all of these dealerships, I'm going to show you signs that you can look for to see cracks. We're going to see cracks that are going through this car market, and these dealers are really taking the brunt of a lot of what these manufacturers have messed up over the last couple years. And we'll pick up right here too. What does Toyota have? Toyota has a truck problem, both on your Tacomas, and we have Tundras that are right over there. I'll show you those in a second. But what are Toyota dealers and Toyota, the manufacturer, having to do? Well, they got to do stuff like this, where you got manager kind of special deals where they're taking special interest rates, or they're either taking money off. Oh, and this, look, we're doing both. So we got $5,000 off, and on this side, we're doing 3.99% APR. So not only are they putting money on the hood, which means they're taking money off of the vehicle in the form of $5,000, but they're also giving special interest rates. And this is going to cost both dealer and manufacturer. So this is a 2024 Tacoma SR5, $44,000. And you wonder why they have to do this. Well, because you know what? It's hard to sell a $44,000 truck right now, especially if you're Toyota, because we know of all the issues that they're dealing with the motors, or the perception of the motors, whatever you want to say. And we'll look at this right here, because you're talking about perception of motor, and it's Toyota Tundra that we're talking about. So Toyota Tundra, they have long had the big V8s, very, very reliable. Then they switched to the 6-cylinder turbo. Then what happened? Well, lots of recalls, lots of motors going bad, and this is the Tundra. This is actually the capstone model. There you go. It's going to be your, I think your top trim. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. $83,000, and it comes with that 6-cylinder turbo. And this is what a lot of people do not want right now in this car market, because you're not only seeing Toyota go to the 6-cylinder turbo, you're seeing Ford do it. Ram, you're seeing it. I mean, they have a whole new line of 6-cylinder turbos coming out, and we found that, okay, Toyota was basically the guinea pig with their Tundras, and now you're seeing all these other companies come out and do the same thing, even though they can see that it really, really hurt your Toyota Tundra buyers. And now I'm getting over to their used section over here, so I want to point some of these out. I actually like this dealership because what they do is they put their prices on their used vehicles. So it's nice, one, for us to see where the market's going on some of these higher end used things, but also a lot of new dealers, they usually don't put their prices on their used vehicles because they just don't have to. And that's another way to hide a little bit of information from the consumer, make them have to go in and get wooed by the salesperson. But we're not here for any wooing, so I want to look at this F-150 Lightning, because these are always very comical to me. 2023, so it was bought last year, so I got 16,000 miles. $53,000, and this one is a Lariat. This is the top trim, if I'm not mistaken. Looks nice, but look at that number right there, $53,000. Last year, this consumer, I know these numbers, I know them really, really well, because I've followed the F-150 Lightning for a very, very long time now, because it's been a big problem for Ford. That consumer last year probably paid about $90,000 all in for that truck right there. It's even got this special design. You know what? They might even paid more than that. Look at that. They've got the special design in the F-150 right there. They got these special emblems. Let's say low end. Low end, that consumer was in that truck for $90,000. They drove it for 1 year and 16,000 miles worth. And now it's sitting on a dealership lot on sale for $52,000. This dealership, they didn't pay $52,000. They probably didn't want that Lightning. These dealerships, they know, this is a Toyota dealership. They know the problems of the negative equity, the situations with these F-150 Lightnings where their values have just been hammered. So that consumer on trade probably got $35,000, $40,000 for that F-150 Lightning after driving her for 1 year and paying $90,000 for it. Because these used managers that know the values of these used cars and see them go at auction and see which ones they don't want, which that's one that they did not want. They're like, you know what, the only way I'm getting this thing is if I steal it. And they probably stole it for about $35,000, and they're trying to sell it for 52 grand, and it's probably not going to sell at that. But I just want you to just go back to that beginning consumer. $90,000, 1 year, $52,000, but that's not what that consumer got for it.
If you've been looking for something healthier to replace your morning coffee routine, well, Mud Water is a great alternative. It's rich and earthy with a warm spice flavor that's very satisfying. I mixed mine with a little bit of honey and it tasted great. Their included frother makes the drink perfectly smooth. Mud Water is more than just a coffee alternative. It's packed with 4 functional mushrooms: lion's mane for focus, cordyceps for natural energy, and chaga and reishi to support my immune system. All of these mushrooms that I can barely say the name of, I might not even be pronouncing them right. So that means they've got to be healthy. With only a fraction of the caffeine in coffee, you can get all-day energy without the crash or the jitters. And it's more healthy. Mud Water is Whole30 approved, 100% USDA organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. Mud Water is hooking up my audience with a great offer. Go to mudwater.com/CQA to get a free frother and 15% off. That's MUDWTR.com/CQA. Trust me, you'll love this new morning ritual.
Here's another one I want to point out. So we talk a lot about, okay, lots of things are happening in the car market that are good for consumers. Well, there's a couple of segments in the market that are still really, really, really bad for consumers, and this is one of them. It's a 2017 Tacoma, but wait for it, here we go. It's a TRD off-road. It's got 212,000 miles, and it's $20,000. So we talk about the Toyota problem with the Tundras and the Tacomas a lot, and there's people that just they won't buy that 6-cylinder turbo. They won't buy the 4-cylinder turbo. They want the V6 that was so good. They want the V8 that was so good. And the only way they're going to be able to do that is by buying a few-year-old model, like that Tacoma back there. And so what's that doing on the used side? I'm a used car dealer. I see this at auction. Well, it is sending the prices for those V8s, for those V6s, for those good Toyota Tundras, for those good Toyota Tacomas through the roof. And this is going to be a problem we're going to have to live with now until Toyota fixes the issue. And it's going to be over the next probably 5-6 years that those trucks are going to bring such a premium. And I would not be surprised if you start seeing a lot of those V8s in the Tundra specifically that have really low mileage that could go for more than what the new trucks are going for, just because people are wanting those way more than the 6-cylinder turbos. Here, we're at Ford now. Okay, we should start at Toyota. Here's Ford. We're going to get to Jeep, Dodge, Ram. There's a Kia dealer and then a Nissan right after that. So stay with me. We're going to get through everything. Here's the problem with Ford right here. Broncos, what have they recently done? Well, they've moved some people off the production of these Broncos, and they've cut some production from the Broncos because they're not selling. These are Broncos that you couldn't find 6-12 months ago, and now they still got 2024s. Yep, that's a 2024 Outer Banks edition, $52,000, and they're having a hard time selling them. $50,000 is not the high end of what you would see for some of these off-road vehicles. You think like a Jeep Rubicon would be the example over at Jeep. Toyota, you see the 4Runners. This is not crazy higher than what you're seeing in the other brands. It's around that same price, but still we're seeing a problem, so much so that Ford has decided to start cutting production. And it's just amazing to see how the car market has moved just from 12 months ago, because all these Broncos that were on these dealer lots, if you could even find them, it was a really hard time finding. You had a really hard time finding any of these Broncos. They all had $10,000 market adjustments on them. Here we go. Here's something else we can point out. This is one of the cheaper SUVs that Ford offers, and we got $10,000 off on this thing. So even, it's a manager special. I see this a lot too, and I've talked to some franchise managers to ask about, all right, taking money off of cars. And a lot of them don't like to advertise on one particular vehicle that they're taking money off of it. Speaking of like this right here, because if you have a consumer that's coming in and wants to buy one of your more expensive cars, well, you don't really want to pull them away from one of your more expensive cars because you can get $10,000 off this. But we're seeing more of this in the marketplace. So what a lot of these, here's another, you see it right over there, as another manager special. So what a lot of these franchise managers would do, instead of actually throwing money on a sign saying, okay, we got $10,000 off, like this one does right here, they would put manager special in the window, and it would just, basically it's like a clearance sign that you would see at a retail store. But they do that so if people are looking for a deal, they have to actually come out and seek what the deal is, instead of somebody walking by and saying, oh, you know what, I'm really liking an Explorer. No, that one's, even though it's got manager special, I don't want to ask about that. Let's look at one of these Explorers. That's what we want to do. But now, since they've actually got that $10,000 off, they say, oh, well, I like this Explorer, but this one's got $10,000 off. Let's see about this, because this one's probably a way better price than that Explorer. But anyway, I'm going to go back to this midsize SUV, Ford Edge, and it's a 2024, $43,000. So why do you think that this dealer is having to take $10,000 off of this Ford Edge right here? Well, this is a big problem with the car market right now. It's because a lot of these dealers are having to take a big brunt of this these problems that are going through the car market, because Ford made a bad decision in making a mid to small size SUV. It's the Ford Edge. It's smaller than the Ford Explorer. $43,000. And that's not what we need right now. This is not what if a family's looking for a mid-level SUV, $43,000 is not going to cut it. So you have a lot of these dealers that are going to have to do more and more and more of that. And Ford's already sold that car to this dealership. Ford's already been paid. Now it's this dealership's problem right now that Ford made a bad product. I'm not going to say a bad product. I don't know anything about the Edges. I don't know if they're good or bad. Scratch that. Ford made a product for the customer that it was trying to appeal. They made the product too much. And now the dealership's having to deal with it. And there you go. Every Ford dealership I go to, what do you see? You see trucks stacking up everywhere. I wanted to check out this manager special. Let's see what this is. I'm sure it's a 2024. You got an XLT, so not the highest trim, not the lowest trim. 2024, yep. So we've got $61,000, and this one actually doesn't show the amount of money off unless it's printed on the other side of this vehicle, this truck. Nope, it's not over there. So here's the thing that I'm looking at. If you're going to a dealership lot and you're looking for the best deal, well, it's going to be probably one of the ones that has the manager special sticker on it. And this is what a lot of these franchise managers do, especially when they have this many trucks. And a lot of these are going to be 2024s, and you got 2025s coming in right now. This is another 2024. Check this out. This one's F-150 Super Crew, $66,000. But I mean, here's the thing. You got this Ford dealer that has, I mean, look down this row. They have all of these F-150s right now, and a lot of them are 2024s. So what's got to happen? Well, they got to get rid of them because they have 2025s that are coming in. And typically through the car market year after year, before the end of 2024 is even done, I mean, look right here. There's Rams right here too. I'm next to a couple of these dealers. But typically, that shadow's bad. But typically you'll have a full lot of 2025s at this moment right now at the end of 2024. We're not seeing that right now because these dealerships are so stacked up with all of these 2024s sitting on this lot. And I'm walking on the prime example right now of this problem that we're seeing. And this is Jeep, Dodge, Ram. And they are probably having the worst time of any other manufacturer out there. Maybe you could argue Nissan. Nissan's in the same boat. But I would, with the inventory levels, I would say that Jeep, Ram's probably in a worse place. But here's a good example. Exactly what we were just talking about. 2024 Jeep Wrangler was $51,000, now $43,000. And we get that $8,000 cut, that $7,000 cut, whatever. That's on the dealership, because I mean, remember, that's a 2024 model. They bought that back in 2023. Jeep's already been paid for it, and Jeep would assume that it's already been sold through a lot like this, so they should already have their floor plan paid and satisfied on it, and they shouldn't have it here, so they don't need to incentivize those. So it's going to fall on these dealerships to now be able to mark down these prices to get them to a level where they can actually sell them, because the 2025s that are coming in, Jeep Dodge Ram, their CEO who just left, fired, resigned, whatever you want to call it, they know that there's issues now. If they thought it was all rosy and everything, well, he can keep trucking and making his $39 million. But no, they have to make changes. So you're going to see a lot of these 2025s come in with discounts already as soon as they come out. Gladiator is a good example. We got a Gladiator right over here. I'll show it to you in a second. But I'll give you an example. The model, the sport model of the 2025, the MSRP they've already lowered. They lowered it down to $40,000. And the current year, the 2024s right now of the Gladiator Sports, they are $43,000. So what does that say to a customer when they walk in if they see a 2025 for $40,000 and then they see another Gladiator right beside of it that's for $43,000? Well, 100% of the time, that customer is going to want to buy that 2025 for a lesser price. So what does that? I mean, that means the dealer has to make that older Gladiator less, and not just match the price. They can't come in there and sell it for $40,000. They got to make it significantly less, because why would you? It seems like every consumer that will walk in, they would pay probably $2,000 or $3,000 more to buy the newest year model of that Gladiator. So the Gladiator that's 1 year old has to be so significantly discounted to pull that customer in. It's going to have to be probably $5,000-$6,000 cheaper. And here's another. Here's some big boys right here. We'll check these. These are the super modded out trucks. I see these a lot when I come onto these dealership lots, and I don't know who's buying these things. I can't really see. I'm short, so I think that's $104,000, and I don't want to. You know what? We'll jump. 1, 2, 3. I think it's $104,000. Anyway, but I mean, big boys, yeah. But you're seeing a lot of these trucks here because a lot of these dealers, they took these things when money was flowing, and they modded out a lot of these trucks because we could sell them. I see a lot of this at Ford dealerships. I saw a lot of this at GM dealerships and Ram, where they can take and put this, from what I've heard, about $10,000, $15,000 lift kit on a lot of these trucks, and then charge $30,000, $35,000 for it. But here's another big problem when you're talking about Jeep, and we're talking about Jeep Dodge Ram right now, and this is one of your biggest issues, and this is a Wagoneer, and we can see the price on it, $70,000, and that's the cheap one. That's about the cheapest Wagoneer that I've seen. But we're going through a market right now that's absolutely insane. And talking about prices, well, we've seen that production has not really been cut on a lot of the Wagoneers. But what do you see? Days supply, days of inventory. The highest big SUV, the highest days of inventory is on a Wagoneer, is on a Grand Wagoneer. Is that a surprise to anyone when that price is $80,000, $70,000? That's the cheap one. We see Grand Wagoneers, I see them lot them at the lots, and they're stacking up at these dealership lots. They're not $80,000, they're $120,000. And here's a Kia dealership, and I want to point this out really quickly. See all around me? I'll go slow. See any Kias? The answer would be no. So what's happening? I mean, there's one right there, but it's still used. So what a lot of these dealerships are doing when margins are going down on these new cars, they're having a harder time, one, selling the new cars because they're so much more expensive than the used ones. And then two, they're having to add incentives. They're not able to get a lot of these markups that they were getting. So what's happening? They're actually making more money on their used products than they are their new products. So a lot of these new car dealers like this, they're putting all their used cars on their front line, and they're turning into glorified used car dealers just because they make so much more money in this market currently on their used things than they are the new cars. And it's just an element of, okay, new cars have gotten up so they're so high priced that is driven up the price of used cars. But new car dealers can still pay almost nothing for a lot of these trade-ins that are coming in. And here's one that we can point out. Kia Telluride. Year and a half ago, people were fist fighting each other to buy one of these things. They're paying $5,000 and $10,000 market adjustments. This is a 2024, $54,000. And there's a little add-on here, but you don't see any $5,000, $10,000. There was one situation where I saw $30,000 markup on a Kia Telluride, and you really couldn't find any of these. People would have to be put on a waiting list. They would have to special order these Kia Tellurides. And you see one right there. I see one right over there. This is something that it's just changing in the market, and it has changed. And we're hitting this Nissan dealership right here. By the way, this is a Nissan dealership I absolutely love. I've got a buddy that works here, and I know that they never charge any market add-ons, even when they could. But even as good as a dealership can be, which this one I really like and I recommend, anytime I'm ever here, even a dealership like this, I mean, things are getting slower. Nissan has come out and just said that they're in emergency mode right now because sales have been going down, and there's even quotes going around the internet right now saying that Nissan won't last more than 12, 14 months. And that's it says it's from an inside source that hasn't been verified. I'm ready to hear who actually said that, but it's scary, especially when a consumer is looking online and seeing that, okay, Nissan themselves is saying they're in emergency mode. Their CEO has taken a pay cut. They just laid off 9,000 workers. And then you see the quote saying, well, Nissan might not last. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think even if they do get into the worst trouble possible, then they'll probably get bought out by another brand. That's usually what happens in a lot of these situations. But you see these Nissan dealers right here. All right, this Pathfinder, advertised $6,000 off. This Pathfinder right here, advertised $7,000 off. You don't see that, and you haven't seen that, but this is the kind of dealership right here that I'm on right now that would lead the market with things like that. When things were crazy and money was everywhere and there wasn't even any new cars on this lot hardly, they could have charged market adjustments, and they didn't. And as prices started to come down a little bit, they weren't just selling at MSRP, they were selling under MSRP. Check their website a lot. And now they're advertising on their vehicles that are taking $6,000 and $7,000 off. So this is just something that's changing in the market, and I like to look at a dealership like this because they're going to lead the rest of the dealerships when really sales start to slow, when things need to happen to get consumers into cars. This is the kind of dealership that's going to change before all the other dealerships. Just to let you know, Ben Minette, Nissan, Salisbury, North Carolina, one of the few dealerships that I recommend. You're not going to find nitrogen here. You're not going to find any extra things that you don't want to pay for. But that's the thing, market's changing, and it's good for the consumer, but it's not necessarily a dealership problem that a lot of these issues that are going through the car market, but it's the dealerships that are actually having to pay for it right now.